It only came to the market in September of 2020, but since then we've seen, I think, quite a wild ride for Palantir Technologies stock price, trading as high as $45 in early January, then back towards 17 in May. But with the volatility calming down since then, are we going to see this recovery continue, or actually is this uptrend about to end? I thought we'd take a look at Palantir in a bit more detail. I think it's always a popular one with private investors, perhaps caught up a bit in the meme stock mania earlier this year, driving it up to here, then selling back off. But I think what's interesting is the recovery we've seen since May. So as usual, in this video, I'll talk a bit about what's been going on, what the company does, then we'll come back onto this and look at the technicals in a bit more detail. Hello, I'm David Jones from Capital.com, and I thought this time round for our stock, we'd take a look at Palantir Technologies. So as usual, in this video, I'll talk a bit about the company, then we'll jump back onto the platform, look at the charts in a bit more detail, and see what the technical view of the stock could be. It's been a pretty volatile year, but more of that in a second. As usual, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, if you could click on subscribe, it does help support the channel, and it means we can continue to push out 3 videos every week on the different stocks that we look at. Right, let's get into it and take a look at Palantir in a bit more detail. So first of all, what do? It's a US software company specializing in big data analytics. That's their core business. There's a wide range of applications and clients who use their business. So applications have included in the past and today counterterrorism, fraud investigation, financial services, and the healthcare sector as well, more recently with the coronavirus pandemic. Now, the company's been going since the early 2000s, but only came to the market towards the end of last year. September 2020 is when they debuted on the stock market. This year has been a volatile one. We've seen the share price trade as high as $45 earlier in the year and as low as $17 as recently as May. First quarter earnings showed good growth. Revenue grew by 49%. Earnings per share, no real surprise there. Earnings per share coming in at 4 cents per share, which is what the market was expecting. Now, part of the reason for that surge, I think earlier in the year, it had attracted some attention as part of the whole meme stock craze that we saw and that came back again recently with AMC stock. So I think Palantir was caught up a bit in that. It does appear that the interest has moved on, but there is still, I think, quite a lot of short selling interest in Palantir. So that's not to say it couldn't come back, but I think investors now perhaps looking more at the fundamentals and the potential for long-term growth for the stock. We'll take a look at how that meme stock craze affected their price and how things have calmed down. Before we do that, let's take a look at some of the levels to watch. So I think we've got a fairly tight band of support and resistance at the moment, looking at previous highs and lows. So for me, the next obstacle on the upside is around $26.20. On the downside, it's around $22.30. The share price has been recovering off those May lows. So let's take a look at the chart and have a look at things in a bit more detail. So let's start off. We've got all the data we have because it only came to the market at the end of September 2020. So I thought let's take a look at it with our usual 20-day moving average. And of course, with moving averages, when the price moves above, it's considered a buy signal from the moving average. When the price moves below, that's considered a sell signal from the moving average. The latest signal we had was following this recovery that started off those May lows. So we had the price move through around, the 4th week of May as the price moved through $21. We had a buy signal off the moving average. And so far, at least, it's still holding with that. I think what's interesting, and you can often see this when we look at moving averages, that they can act as almost a sort of a floating support line. And we've seen the price during June sort of drift back towards that moving average. And so far, at least, it has provided some support. That moving average at the moment is coming in around $23.50. If we take a look at the RSI down here, this is a 10-day RSI, and the RSI gives us overbought and oversold signals. The last signal we had off the RSI was overbought in early June, suggesting that the share price has perhaps gone a bit too far up in the short term. We've seen a little bit more strength from the share price since then, but the RSI is falling, setting up what's known as divergence. So again, this can be a suggestion that perhaps the momentum could be close to running out of steam. We'll see how this one plays out. But if we did see the share price sell off from here, this would push the RSI lower, obviously, and potentially set up a bit further in the future, a buy signal as we had off the May lows. But at the moment, the RSI is suggesting that perhaps the share price is a little bit overheated. If we focus now on the price action, let's pick up on some recent trends. So we don't have that much data, obviously, because it's only been trading since the end of September. And we had this massive volatility into January. But I thought what might be interesting to look at it since February, if we put a trend line off those late Feb highs. And I suppose if we were looking at that, you can see the strength that we've had since those May lows has finally broken that sort of 3-month trend line. So again, it can be a suggestion that perhaps the selling pressure has faded and we should start looking for a recovery. I think that the next obstacle to watch are these highs from mid-April coming in just above $26 a share. I think if we crack that, then we can have much more confidence that the trend in Palantir has really reversed. But to look at this recovery in a bit more detail, let's flip this over to a shorter term chart. So we're now looking on the hourly charts, and this does look like the trend had been under some pressure. You can see we saw it slip below June the 15th. We've seen it regain a bit more momentum since then. But again, perhaps a suggestion that in the short to medium term, perhaps sideways trading up here, considering how far it has come since those May lows. But I do think it's a really interesting one to keep an eye on. You know, we have had quite a lot of volatility this year. We do have a bit of a problem, bit of resistance coming in at $26.10. If we break that, perhaps then we'll see a bit more momentum, a bit more of a recovery in Palantir. So one to keep an eye on, and we'll come back to it in a couple of months' time. That's it for the update. We'll see how it fares, whether the recovery continues. We'll come back to it, of course, in the future and take a look at things again. But for now, from me, David Jones and Capital.com, we'll leave things there. Good luck with your investing. For more trading videos just like this, please subscribe to our channel.